I know y'all heard about academic advising over the summertime, like at orientation, but talk a little bit about how you can be helping your student now through school and kind of like what advising looks for them like now that they're here. So like I said, we kind of went over this stuff a little bit during the summer, but really these are kind of just the baseline of what advising at Georgia Southern looks like. So your students are required to meet with an advisor once a semester. So hopefully they've gotten into a meeting this semester, and if not, there's still time to do so before registration starts. Like to remind people that it's a two-way conversation. It's really hard for an advisor to help students and recommend things that they may need on campus or help them reach their goals if we don't know what those are. So a two-way conversation, we can really give students guidance if say a unique pathway, a lot of people come in with the enrollment credit or AP credit, so their stuff's going to look a little bit different from someone not coming in with credit. Maybe those who have an internship their sophomore year and senior year, like that's going to look different. So essentially a unique pathway for them. Their time with their advisor gives them a chance to ask questions, and while students are required to meet once a semester, they can always go in more than that one time if they need to. The advisors will give recommendations on classes if someone's in a major that's more broad and not like lockstep. So that might be a lockstep major might be like engineering, where it's classes that you have to take that build off each other. Maybe someone's in something like philosophy. There's like more general electives, but also a lot more like upper level electives in that major. So advisors may give recommendations for that, or maybe even based on what they want to do, recommendations for a minor. Also, your advisors are kind of like a resource hub. So advisors stay up to date on trainings with different offices across campuses, across all of our campuses, to know where we can send students for help for whatever kind of situation they're having. The advisors are also going to relay important information about policies on campus. So maybe it's like the last day withdrawal without academic penalty. Maybe it's like a legislative requirement or graduation requirements. Those are things that the academic advisors are going to relay to students. We have backup planning on here. While we don't like to think we need a backup, I think all of us that are grown know that sometimes we need a backup plan for things. And the advisors can help with that. A situation might be maybe a student's planning to get into the nursing program and that doesn't work out because that is an application-based program. That doesn't work out. Our advisors know how to make parallel plans with students or have that backup plan in case their first intention doesn't work out. And then also having here a judgment-free zone. Like we want students to know that they can come to us at any point in time if they're having an issue with a class, or maybe they just really messed up this semester and didn't turn in any work. The advisors, while like recognizing yes that is an issue, can help students like move forward from there and what their options are. What I did want to do for you all is to kind of go through like what a year in advising looks like. So like right now, I almost forgot what month we're in. So right now we're in October. So the last day to withdraw without academic penalty, that just passed last week. And then registration for fall is going to start at like the very end of October. So what we're doing with our days now is just essentially seeing everyone to make sure they know what they need to register for the next semester. Of course, early November is when the bulk of people register. So it's essentially getting people into classes and helping them troubleshoot any issues that they may encounter. And that usually goes on, it's about a week and a half of registration opening up. But, issues that we're having to deal with is anywhere from like 2 to 3 weeks. And then December is really like our time for graduation. And, the holidays are mixed in there, and then we start preparing for students who are starting classes in the spring. So I didn't put orientation on there, but we have a few orientations going in December and January. And then we repeat the process again, essentially. So advising will begin in February. And then we have our last day withdrawal. The registration starts usually in the middle, end of March. And then we're still doing registration in April. And then graduation and summer classes start. And of course, in the summertime, that's essentially orientation. While we're still serving our current students, there's not a lot of current students on campus. So the focus really is incoming students for, I guess, the following year, we would say, for that fall. That's when our bulk of new students come in. So I just kind of wanted to lay this out for you all just to kind of understand, I would say, the ebbs and flows. It's always a busy time, but essentially like when your students should be doing what. So at this point in time, getting advised and getting prepared to register for classes. So as far as how you can help, I assume that's why you are here, of course, to get your questions answered in regards to advising, but also how you can help your student when it comes to advising. So really think it's important. So students were registered, as you all know, the advisors registered students as they came in this semester, but students are responsible for registering themselves for spring 2022. I can't believe it's spring 2022, and like on out. So it's really important that students know what day they register, and this information can be found in Wings, and I'll show you more detail of like where to look at in there if they need help with it. But essentially, students need to know that registration occurs at 6. We've joked around saying like this is the Hunger Games for college students getting their classes. So if someone waits until 11 o'clock that morning, they're not probably going to get a schedule that they wanted because the seats will be filled. So there's a chance of that. Usually as a freshman, it's not as, there's plenty of core classes out there, but once you get into your major, like if you're like, I absolutely want to take like gender communication, and there's only one section and it holds 20 people, that's obviously something that you want to strive to like wake up and get in. Also important to note with this, with registration in general, is that registration occurs, I'm going to say by classification. It's really like the amount of hours that a student has earned, and then some special populations in the front. So like students, seniors will go first, like in the very first day of registration, and then juniors, and then sophomore, and then I think it used to be like 8 days of freshmen. I think it's cut down to 4 or 5 days of freshmen. So if someone has like 25 to 30 hours, they would be on the first day of freshman registration. And this is simply because people are starting to get into their major courses. So it's making sure that the people who aren't ready for those courses aren't hopping in there. So the students who are actually needing it to progress toward graduation are able to get to those courses first. So like I said, I'll show you kind of directions on exactly where to find this. Also, what you can do is encourage your student to ask questions and share their goals. I mentioned that on the previous slide. But just, students haven't really met with their academic advisor yet, so the relationship isn't there. Especially with us being virtual over the summer, there just wasn't that introduction like we normally have in the summer. So just encourage your students to like open up and definitely go to the advisors if they have questions. Another thing you can do, and I say if your student needs assistance, we have a lot of students who are very independent. want to make their schedule on their own and have it together. But if your student is needing help, like kind of grasping the overall large concept of registration, I have a few resources for you. So really making a tentative schedule will help, especially just going through the process of using the course search. And we say it's a tentative schedule because you never know when you wake up if the classes that you plan for 5 days in advance is going to work. But it's always good to have an idea of what you're walking into and what you want and what you need. So with these links that are here, I want to kind of pull them up so that I could drop them. Let's see. I'm just going to drop them in the chat. And I'll do that in a minute, Brandon, because I don't know how to see the, oh, there it is. Just kidding this. Okay, so this is a link if you want to grab it and save it of this particular document. So essentially, you can go into My Georgia Southern to get to the course search that's in there, but you can also use the search bar at the top of, like up here, Trident course search, and it's going to bring up the same thing. On this document, we have a YouTube video on how to use the course search if you want to know like what pieces of it mean, which is kind of explained down further, but sometimes people are more visual with videos. So students will essentially need to use the information on their advisement form to know what classes to look for. And students can find their advisement form through EAB Navigate. So this is directions on how to do that piece. So in EAB Navigate under reports, and a lot of your students did this over the summer when they got their schedule. So it, like this screen may look familiar to you all. So that's like the classes you're going to look for. Of course, typing in the subject, so you can type in English or you can type in ENGL whenever it's for you. Usually it's better, unless you're looking for any English course, it's better to type in the number. So English 1102, maybe if you're taking the second English. And then you are going to be required to choose a campus. So just make sure you pay close attention to that. Don't accidentally click Liberty if you're trying to register for a Statesboro class, because the system will allow you to do that. But obviously most of your students don't want to be driving that far during a normal semester. And then, of course, each class has its own registration number. So this course registration number listed like right here on the far like left on your screen, or if you're looking at the document. These numbers you would essentially write down. And this, I'll show you where they go. But this is a unique identifier for every single class. So it's different for each one. In here, you'll see linked this registration planning sheet. And it prompts you to make a copy just so you can't mess it up for someone else. But this is a really great tool in planning out a schedule, and you can write in the CRN here if you want to keep track of them. But this is a really good visual for students to know like where their classes place, and it's really what a lot of advisors use when making schedules like over the summer. Like for example, I don't know if you can see this, but like I guess this is one that I made over the summer for someone, but just writing in the class. So you don't overlap things and you make sure you have enough time in between classes. So that's a good tool for students to use. And then as far as registering in Wings, like I don't know if this is mainly for you to use so you can help support your students. I don't know if you're going to have to really go through all of these steps. But this is how to register for classes. So going into Wings, clicking on student registration, add drop a class, of course, making sure you pick the correct term. That's really important. and then typing in your RIN. So this is going to be on the advisement form. This does say found at the top of your advisement form. Sometimes it's in the middle or toward the bottom, depending on like where an advisor wrote it in or where it's typed in. But usually it's highlighted or circled really big, but it's somewhere on there. But so you're putting in that piece here. And then the CRNs that you wrote down, so those unique identifiers, you would essentially type them in here and then hit submit changes. And it'll put you in all of the classes that it can. So every now and then, there are problems with registration. So holds is one thing, like students can't register if they have a hold on their account, and this shows you why. But then there are registration errors that come up. So it could be that a class is full. It could be that it's possible there's a wait list for a class, but not all classes have wait lists. That's really done by department. We do have this registration errors page. So this prerequisite and test score error, that's going to be like if someone doesn't have credit or is not enrolled in English 1101, it won't allow them to go in English 1102. So that just means there's a class that needs to be taken before. It's possible that the co-requisite, a lot of times it happens with science lectures and labs, so the classes that need to be taken together. So this is closed if a course is full. Could be a departmental approval is needed. If that ever pops up, especially like freshman, sophomore, it's possible like maybe a wrong number was typed in. Those usually are more like the senior level classes. And also you'll see this reserved for online BAS. So the people who are in our online Bachelor of Interdisciplinary Studies programs, we have to like make sure they have online classes to take since they're in an online program. So sometimes students will try to sneak into there, but they are reserved for those students because we can't offer an online program and not have online classes for them. So these are the most like common errors that students will encounter. So this really is a lot of extra information if y'all want to read through it. But adding or dropping a class before a term. So let's say someone registered November 6th for the spring term, and they decide December 15th they want to change something. They're more than welcome to go change something up if their seat's available. My advice would be to try to add the course you want, then drop the class you don't, just in case there is some kind of error and you don't lose the seat of the one you're already in. December is really not a busy time for people to be surfing for classes, but you never know. And again, this is like where people can locate their advisement form. There's more directions there. So, and we'll have a Q&A at the end of this too. Or Brandon, if I need to stop here, you can tell me. Another like forward-facing page that we have is this registration page. So again, all of these steps, like meet with your advisor, going to Georgia Southern, my Georgia Southern, plan your schedule using the course search. This is like the really nitty-gritty directions on where to get in wings, and then of course add dropping classes if needed, and then viewing your schedule. So if you need help, these are different ways to get in touch with people. Here's also like things people like encounter, like when they can't register. So I mean, these are all resources that are out there, and I know sometimes it's overwhelming because there is so much out there. This registration time is like what I was talking about with like seniors and juniors. When things are so, oh look, we have 3 groups of freshmen, not 4. So but I just wanted to share those resources with you all. Essentially, so you have those to support your students. And then as far as keeping up to date with things that are going on, like maybe the last day to withdraw without academic penalty, or add the last day to add drop, or like registrations opening up. A lot of informational stuff gets put on our Facebook page. Our Instagram is probably the most active because there's a little more fun stuff on there. And then we have a lot of how-to videos on our YouTube page. So I feel like there's resources galore for you to use. So a lot of times if you just like search something on the Georgia Southern site, you can find it. So that's all I have, because I know you all have questions. So I'd rather entertain those and go over what y'all need instead of just talking at you with a bunch of information. So Brandon, what do we have?
Well, thank you so much, Kim. It looks like we got the one link in the chat. So when you get the chance, if you want to drop any of the other links, we got the registration instructions one. So we do already have that one. But we do already have one question that came in. I don't know if you want to multitask it or to wait until you get the link.
Let me let me drop in here. I don't want to forget this stuff. So this is the registration like direct site, and then I don't know, do people need the presentation? Is that in there? Okay, so what questions do we have, Brandon?
All right, so those links are now in the chat, so you should be seeing those. Our first question that we have right now is, do parents have access to the course schedule, or are only students via Wings?
To like see if it's to see the finalized schedule that a student is registered for, that would be only visible to students like in their Wings account, just because it's like personal information that's not out there. As far as if you're talking about the course search, then that is viewable to anyone.
And then we do have one other question currently. While we're asking these, please feel free to ask questions in either the chat or the Q&A feature, whichever is most comfortable to you, and then we'll answer all questions that are submitted. So our one question that's already in here is, where do students find the date they register? Could we get a reminder for that?
Yeah, so they can find that in Wings. Let me, I dropped resources and then deleted them. Hang on. I was gonna see if I have like a good screenshot. Essentially, you go into Wings student. Let me share this just so I can. Sometimes it's better like visually. So essentially, going into Wings and then clicking on student, and then registration. So you'll see where it says like check your registration status and time slot. This isn't circled on here, but down here where it says, y'all probably can't see my cursor, but in the middle, 3 bullet points down, it says check your registration status and time slot. If you click on there, and then you're going to have to select the term, just like right here, it's going to show you the exact date and time that it opens up.
All right, so what happens if a student fails a lab, but they pass the lecture? Do they need to take both again? Do they take just the one they fail? Do those grades combine?
And it depends. If the course, like we have some classes when like your students sign up, like chemistry is a good example, the lab and the course, they are combined for a grade. So it's a 4-hour class with the grade, but if it's separated, like most biologies are, so the biology lecture in the biology lab. If the lecture is passed and the lab is not, a student can take just the lab in the future. So as long as they don't combine to make one grade, they should be able to take just the one course.
And that's definitely a clarifying question that they can ask of their advisor, since there are sometimes specific classes. So
Yeah.
definitely have your student ask with their
Yeah.
advisor.
Mhm.
All right. So next question. Where can parents find that course search? Is it in their Family Georgia Southern portal? Is it in a different location? I'm just thinking to potentially help their student create a tentative schedule, since they might be trying to help from afar.
Yeah. Okay, so I have zero clue if it's in the family portal, but I can show you how to get to it from here, from the main part. Brandon, I don't know if it's in there. And it's
I don't
let me
believe
show
it's in the family
Okay.
portal. I think you have to access it through the way that you're about to
Yeah.
show.
So clearly I look at this a lot because it's already there. So you essentially just type in course search here and it should be course schedule or course search. They go to the same thing and my computer's spinning. So anyways, it's here. So I mean, this could be whatever. I'm just going to use English 1102 because it's probably a common second semester class that people have. So if you wanted to look at Armstrong, just Armstrong campus, you could. If you wanted to look at multiple campuses, you can. So maybe you're looking at Armstrong or online to see the options. If you wanted to look at these specific like filters, you could. There's also advanced searches. Like this is help. It's not helpful now because there's open seats and everything because no one's registered. But let's say it's the day before student registers. They can click on just open seats and see what's there. If you're looking for like open seats on, I don't know, Tuesday, Thursday, English 1102 class, it's going to filter it for you and only show you those. Once registration starts, I love this open seats feature because I'll think I found something great to help somebody schedule and there's actually no seats in it. So that's just a tip for you to have.
Right. Any other questions? Had a lot of good ones so far.
Definitely a lot of good questions.
And give everyone a few seconds in case they're typing something up for us. All right, well, if there are no further questions, definitely want to thank you all for joining us tonight. We definitely appreciate you coming out to this monthly family Zoom and hope that you will come to more in the future as they relate to topics that are relevant to you and interest you or maybe timely based on things that your students currently experiencing. But again, want to thank you for joining us and hope that you have a great night. We will officially go ahead and end this Zoom now.
Thank you.